From the City of Angels, you are listening to the James Salazar Media Podcast. On today's episode, we're going to talk about politics, so let me strike the music, and I'll meet you on the other side.
Engage.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Say hello to my little friend.
No, I am your father.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
And welcome to the James Salazar Media Podcast, where you get your dose of pop culture, politics, and futurism. How's everything going, my fellow Americans, savages out there? Afghanistan. What a fucking disaster. Now I'm going to say this. And people know. Some people know. I don't know if you know. But you're going to know now. I begrudgingly voted for Donald Trump. I don't like him. I don't like how he talks. I don't like how he acts. I don't like how thin-skinned he is. But I knew voting in a Democrat would be a disaster. And I am sorry that I'm right. I mean, where do we start? He comes in, cuts millions of jobs in the coal industry without any preparation or setup for other industries to come in to absorb those workers. Does that sound familiar? Just cutting something and letting things happen? Now we're seeing a pattern here, right? This is an elitist at the upper scale. He is more elitist than Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, George Bush. He don't care how it affects you as long as he does what he wants to do. So he killed millions of jobs in the coal industry and supporting industries for those jobs, all gone. With the promise that by this time in the year that there will be green jobs to support it. Anybody with any intelligence towards economies knew that was not going to happen. To do that in a pandemic where thousands, maybe millions of jobs went away, and he's deciding to cut even more and expecting something to happen, that's a special kind of stupid if you thought green jobs were going to absorb those workers. In an economy that is shut down because of a virus. Who thought this? But we're seeing a pattern here where elitists just cut things and the American people have to eat it. They didn't have any empathy for the people who are going to now have their houses foreclosed on them, their cars taken, repoed, having to rent in bad neighborhoods because there's no more jobs, when they worked hard to live in a good neighborhood, to buy a house, to buy a car, and have a certain lifestyle. The president said, Charlie, your shit's gone. Roll with it. This is the new world. Making empty promises that anybody who knows anything about economies knew wouldn't happen. And then the free money. Look I benefited from it. When the pandemic shut down, I understood that we collectively came together and said, we're all going to shut down for a year. And that's millions and millions of Americans out of money. It'll be mass foreclosures, mass repos. And yes, Donald Trump did do a moratorium along with the Democrats to keep from things being cut or foreclosed on. But they still got to pay it. It didn't solve that problem. You're still going to have to pay those people. And people were willing to do this for the betterment of society. But when it was time to go back to work, governors from Democratic state wanted to keep their economy shut down, keep their kids from going to school. And now creditors are not going to have any forgiveness. And if the government does anything like forgiveness, you will never get a credit card again. You will never be loaned again. There will be thousands of people who didn't pay, and the people who do will be a new elitist class who get all the funding. Can't escape what you owe. So we have an experiment of universal income. And you know what happened? Nobody wants to work because they got the money. It's not even close to a living wage, but they're willing to live off the not living wage supplied by their government, but yet have a problem with the one they have to work for. It should encourage people to get jobs, like the Democrat says. You got this universal ways to as a backup, to have good things, that go along and accompany a good job. Now, people just didn't work. And now we have a worker shortage. I mean, but mostly in service industries. And those jobs are not coming back. They're going to be automated. Let me tell you something. Anybody who ever told you to expect a living wage from McDonald's did you a disservice. McDonald's is supposed to be an entry-level job where you learn what it means to work hard, wake up 5 days a week in the morning, to follow through on your responsibilities. And then you go from there. You get a skill, trade, or education that will get you the money that you want in life. I mean, I'm telling you, nobody's going to pay you a living wage, which is above $15 an hour to flip a burger. Not going to happen. They'll get a robot to do it for cheaper. And the numbers in the long run will be in their favor. It'll be cheaper to have robots than to have people. And cutting jobs, universal income, have allowed that to happen. And it might have always happened. But at the end of the day, we know that there's less jobs and less people willing to work them because of the free money. That's a fact. And because of that free money, we should know now that universal income is a failure and it causes inflation. And now the money that you get for free is worth less. Add to it a president who wants to cut jobs, not create them. Well, we have a recipe for disaster, and this is where we're in right now. But the money's going to be cut off, and everybody's going to have to go to work. And that's a good thing. When I knew the economy was going to shut down and they're going to give me free money, I made sure that all my bills could be supported by the free money given by government. And look, I applaud people who were able to work, who not able, but did work during the pandemic and picked up people who could have had the virus. And I know many Uber drivers who got COVID. But the combination of not wanting to bring that back to my family and the schools not opening up and free money was a combination for me not to work. Made a judgment call. But now the economy is dying. What do? Everybody's got to do their part. And let's get into the next subject. He's failing at COVID, not able to understand how the American psyche works. Whenever you threaten the American people with powers that you don't have or not supposed to have, you have now created an enemy. You know, when Donald Trump asked everybody to stay inside, everybody stood inside and locked down. The majority of the Americans did. He didn't create any laws, federal laws, to do that. We're all in it together. Soon as someone tries to mandate something, you're going to have half the country say, fuck you, I ain't doing what you're telling me. There's a song by Rage Against the Machine saying, fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. That music is loved by liberals and conservatives because at the end of the day, as Americans who value freedom over government, don't want people to tell them what to do. You ask the American people and the American people will step up. But once you start to demand, and he didn't know this, he should have known this, and he's threatening mass mandates and vaccine mandates that will only push people further away. It's about the result. We're talking about people whose first instinct is to run on emotions, on what they think is right, and let's be clear, it's what they feel is right. I get the science, I get the intelligence of the argument, but if you want more people to be vaccinated, stop telling them that you're going to mandate it. You want more people to mask? Stop telling people there's going to be a mass mandate. You just create the opposite effect. And we see that in the numbers. We now know more people are being vaccinated because of people are dying. And I understand variants can be created in the unvaccinated. But we're talking about results here. We're not talking about what makes sense. How do you get a group of people? Is it smart for sheep to be corralled by a dog? That doesn't make sense. But it works. A dog can get can control 1,000 herd of sheep. No, I mean a herd of 1,000 sheep. How do you corral people into taking the vaccine? First thing you don't do is try to mandate and threaten. And in that aspect, vaccination has slowed because of how the president is handling this. And then he goes and tells the vaccinated to mask for the unvaccinated, for the uncompliant, thinking that will to encourage the unvaccinated to be vaccinated? In what world? All you told them is that society is going to change for them. They don't need to change and adapt to where society is going. No, so I don't need to do anything. Other people are going to mask for me. They're going to protect me. Oh, good for them. Hey, why do they need masks if the vaccine works? This is a logical conclusion that people can make. You're telling them that the vaccine doesn't work. And there's so much misinformation. You have certain doctors say that, no, you cannot transmit COVID if you've been vaccinated. Others says you can. It's just not going to hurt you if you're vaccinated. with such disinformation out there, I don't know how you trust anything. So I'm going to mask because I want to live until they're sure. And I'm pretty sure it's going to come out that they probably had it all wrong from the start, has become an adversary to half the country. I mean, things are so bad. We totally forgot about the disastrous border and thousands of people coming in every day who have not been vaccinated, increasing the number of unvaccinated, but we're not counting them because they're not citizens. So that 40% that's unvaccinated does not account the number of people coming in illegally who haven't been vaccinated because they live in poor communities that just don't offer it. And they're coming to America probably to get vaccinated. And what we can take from the situation with Afghanistan, that we care more about Mexicans than Afghans. That we want to take these people out of a bad situation, but screw those other people. You know what? It's always been with the United States. If you break it, you buy it. So Afghanistan. This is incredible what is happening. This man is so... I'm not shocked because I have a theory of why he's making these decisions or why he's being allowed to or influenced into these decision making. And I'll get to that. And number one, everybody keeps on saying this is Donald Trump's plan. No. Donald Trump's plan, which he should have never negotiated with terrorists in the first place, but he did have negotiations. It was conditional. That they act a certain way, did certain things, and then maybe we'll give them back Afghanistan. But they didn't do any of those things, so Donald Trump was never in trouble of giving Afghanistan back to the Taliban. It was conditional. Like every good contract. You do this, then we'll do this. They didn't do that, so we weren't going to do this. Up until Joe Biden said, let's do this. Regardless of what they're doing. Pulls out. And disasters ensues. I don't know what he's thinking, but thinking is the word here that we need to address, that he's not thinking clearly. Number one, you got to get out the Americans, right? You should have had 2 weeks warning Americans, you need to get out of Afghanistan, we're going to leave. Nope. He just pulls out all military and leaves the Americans hanging. Plus all the people who risked their lives for Afghanistan, who are Afghanis, who worked with the American military, who believed that America wouldn't do them wrong. You probably should have got those people out too. But nope, they're doubly screwed. And at the very least, when you're telling your army to leave Afghanistan, you say to them, hey, take our stuff with us or destroy it so it doesn't get into the hands of the Taliban. They didn't do that either. So whether you believe we should have left, and there's an argument for that, how it happened was completely negligent, foolhardy, and stupid. I don't know, and it is amazing how many people who had problems with Donald Trump ain't saying shit. This is so bad. If this was Donald Trump, Pelosi and Schumer would have articles of impeachment right away. No doubt. And all the people who said nationalism is bad, that we're a community of people, are suddenly quiet about all this. Because they're suddenly coming with the argument that, we just need to do this for Americans. You know, we're still in, what is it, France? We're still in Germany and Japan. You know, there wasn't one American has not died in Afghanistan for about a year now. It's not the Americans who are engaging the enemy. And it was such an insult to say to the Afghan soldier that they didn't fight hard enough when 50,000 Afghan soldiers have died in the war, on the war on terror. There's been bad presidents, but my Lord, and there's been presidents that have made mistakes. Every one of his advisors and generals said, this is a bad idea. But he went with it anyways. And let me tell you why I think it happened. Number one, that he's an elitist. And he doesn't care what happens when he makes a decision, as long as he believes his decision's good. He doesn't care how many people die. He doesn't care how many Americans he screw over there. He doesn't care about who gets our weaponry. And he doesn't care about you, the American people. Clearly, he doesn't care about you. He's completely involved in agendas. He has these certain agendas that he wants to get done before he has to step down or he's impeached because his cognitive decline is too apparent and the American people have no confidence in his presidency. It's going to happen before we get to the election, for sure. But he's all about these certain ideas that he has in his mind that he needs to do as president that are completely screwing the people now. And he has no reverse or no backup. And as we know, no plans to fix what he screwed up. Let alone having plans not to screw up. I don't know what to tell you. He just made this decision. And we should be scared, everyone, about the next decision he makes. It is like Russian roulette with this dude. What grand liberal idea does he think that needs to happen before he's kicked out of office that will screw the American people? At least Barack Obama, when he did something disastrous, it worked for half the people. I mean, like Obamacare worked for half the country and screw the other half. Joe Biden, he's making policies that screw everybody. But let me tell you what I think is happening here. I think, in the campaign, people had to hide his cognitive decline. They didn't have him debate as much as they wanted. They didn't have him do as many press conferences or rallies. They knew that Donald Trump, you leave him alone long enough, he's going to put his foot in his mouth. And we had all these campaign people around Joe Biden protecting him, making decisions for him concerning the election. Well, they couldn't afford those people to leave his side. They are now the people that are keeping the experts that are going to come into the administration from really knowing how bad the president is. So the people who are making decisions for our country are all people who run campaigns. People who are looking at poll numbers and not the human capital that is being neglected or destroyed, economies being destroyed. They're just looking at what plays well in the news. I have no doubt the conversations like how do we get people What does the people want? What's an easy thing for us to do to make the president look good? Yeah, let's pull out of Afghanistan. Hey, Mr. President, let's pull out of Afghanistan. Sounds good to me. Let's pull out. It was a disaster. You're all fired. Hey, do we leave? No, he's going to forget he fired us in 5 minutes. Are you sure? Yes. So what do we do about this? See, I told you, he just forgot he fired us. Joe Biden needs to be impeached. He needs to step down. And that Kamala Harris, that's a disaster too. But at this point, maybe something different. Because it ain't working. And it's badly not working. I mean, you really didn't have to do anything. You just could have kept everything in play and just like sit there and do nothing. But he's trying to do stuff. Like crazy stuff. And I'm telling you, he ain't done. He's going to make decisions and try to make adjustments after. And my God, the things they're saying in the press conferences, basically they're saying, yeah, if the Taliban hurts Americans and keep them coming from the airport, we're going to write a stern letter. And I get it. They're liberals, right? Because words hurt them. Liberals, words hurt them. Words destroy them. And they think the rest of the world works that way. So they think that if they write a stern letter, it's going to destroy the Taliban because they're easily offended. Well, the Taliban is easily offended, and then they shoot people. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That's the OG belief of the Taliban. And they're going to get the sticks and the stones, and they're going to hit you over the head with it. Yeah, just stupid stuff. Like, oh. And what else? Another stupid thing they've been saying is like, oh yeah, we're trusting that the Taliban's going to escort the Americans. That's like negotiating with the KKK saying, yeah, we're going to take care of your black people. It's that kind of stupid. You have to be stupid to believe that any of that makes sense. People who throw acid in girls' faces for going to school. People who rape children and women because they feel like it are gonna take care of the Americans. You have to be a special kind of stupid, or you have to be leftist to believe that. I don't know what to tell you, people. I guess this is how leftists felt every time Donald Trump made a mean tweet. It destroyed their world because words hurt them. And now I'm feeling what they're feeling, but my qualification of freaking out is bad decisions, which I think makes more sense in the long run. Oh my Lord. Have I met my talking shit quota today? Let me look at my notes. Yeah, pretty much. There's no way. Look at what people don't understand is that there's people outside of Kabul, Americans, and people who helped the American people, Afghans, who are in all other cities. Those people are completely screwed. And maybe they should just head to a different border at this point. Let alone the people in Kabul who are trying to get out, which is ridiculous. I mean, they're literally beating people over the heads with the butts of rifles. And we're going to hear some horror stories about that situation that's not even come out yet. And we're like on 11 days before they imprison everybody that's American. So you have 11 days to get all these people out. And we don't know how many people are there. They never registered. Some people registered, some people didn't. Some people never registered out. We don't know if they're there or not. We don't know. And guess what? When they made the decision, they didn't care. I mean, at the very least, you destroy your equipment, right? So they don't have multi-billion-dollar equipment to use against Americans, to use against nation states that are allies, to use against their own people. You don't destroy that. You don't take some of that with you if you're able to. I mean, a general doesn't say, hey, destroy all these things before we leave. There is an incompetency here that goes far beyond what is normal. I mean, people are all up in arms over Watergate. They still think it's the worst thing ever. And you're going to see the Democrats try to say the riots at the Capitol are just as bad. Let me tell you something. One person died at the Capitol, and they deserved it for storming the Capitol. And then 3 hours later, the Capitol went back to work. This is going to have actual numbers where Americans die in large numbers that could have easily been avoided. But for some reason, we're given no warning. Now, don't get me wrong, the Capitol was bad. It was stupid and embarrassing that we got to that point. But this, takes the cake. Now, if you got all the Americans out, and you got most of the translators and all the people who helped out, and you got our materials out, and it went down like that, it still would have been obvious. And here's the thing. You don't tell people when you leave, you just leave. You let people slowly find out that the Americans are gone. Like, what? The Americans are gone? Well, are you sure? Yeah, you sure you don't see any? I haven't seen them in about a week. Maybe we should go down there, go walk, and they step in closely, and then they slowly move themselves in with apprehension. You don't tell people when you're going to leave. Except for the people who are supposed to be out of there. I don't know. What do you do? What are you going to do? I think that's my quota. I'm done talking about politics. Haven't talked about politics in a while. Just letting you know that there's going to be a governor election in California. Make sure you get this bad one out and vote in a new one. I hope that whether another Democrat comes in, that they will read the writing on the wall that they're not going to tolerate someone shutting down the economy and being a hypocrite. Hope they know that. But I say go for the first black governor in California history. Let me do some, don't be hating black people. Vote them in. First black Republican governor in California. Should have happened a long time ago. Look it. You gotta have people who know how to run shit be governor. You get these crazy, let the crazy wacko ideas be done by the state representatives. Okay? But you can't have a governor who says, yeah, that's a good idea. That every, what the California legislature brings up, why not? Let's try it. It couldn't hurt. You know, we don't want governors like that. Governors are like a stopgap for craziness. So it's important that, you know, you keep your legislative as liberal as your people want it in the state, but always have a Republican governor to make sure that the crazy shit doesn't get through. And in California, the crazy shit gets through all the time. All the time. And we are suffering it. You know, right now, the big cities are choosing the presidents. The cities that have the highest homeless rate, the biggest disparity between the rich and the poor, the highest violence of minorities, the lowest graduation rates, or people who are actually coming out with the ability to read and do math. These are the people who are picking our governors and our presidents. People in this state. If you can get people in desperation, if you can get people in survival mode, and you come out with a handout, they will always vote for you. But there is no incentive to change your situation. Because soon as they change your situation, you don't need them anymore. And they know that. They see the numbers. That is true. You change the situation, you create the avenue for you not to be voted in anymore. There's a saying, but it's true. Unfortunately true. Democrats are for welfare checks. Republicans are for paychecks. And you can see this in the decisions that every Democratic governor has been making and Democratic president has been making. The pendulum needs to swing the other way. This is why it's so unfortunate that Donald Trump was an idiot when he talked. Because he put us in this situation as well. If he had some amount of humility and can articulate his points without insulting people, they would have kept him in, I'm pretty sure. But let's understand that we don't need Donald Trump to come back again to get somebody who can run the economy like he did, sort of punch back like he did, without doing foolish and selfish insults. We don't need him back. We need someone sort of like him, but not quite like him. When that whole disaster at the end, when he couldn't take his comeuppance by losing, for me, disqualified him as president. I will vote for a different person, another conservative. At the end of the day, if he's the nominee, I'm going to vote for him. But I don't want him to be the nominee. So I say that. All right. Hope you know where I'm coming from. But yeah, let's get this governor out of here. Let's start making good decisions, California. Let's bring back our economy. All right? We need to inspire and incentivize the rich people to open businesses based on the idea that they're going to make a lot of money. They don't feel they're going to make a lot of money. That's why they're leaving in droves. That's why they're not investing in the economy while this governor's in-house and this president is running things. They're just going to hold off because it's such a disaster they think it's going to turn the other way, and probably is. It is so bad. It is so bad. All right. 40 minutes of talking the politics straight without any commercial breaks. This is what you get from the James Salazar Media Podcast, where you get your dose of pop culture, politics, and futurism. Today we focused on pop culture. Next week, we're going to talk about futurism. There's a lot of futurism news. We're coming towards the end of the year. There's certain promises made by billionaires that were supposed to happen. And so far, we are doing good. And we're going to talk about it. And in the next coming months, I'm coming with some coaching opportunities that were pushed back because of COVID, I created a whole academy with courses just for you guys. So I'm excited to present that in the next coming month. So look out for that. Hey, if you have any comment about what I said in today's podcast, and I'm pretty sure you do, you can you can send it to me at jamessalazarmedia at gmail.com, and I'll read it on the podcast. Make sure you clearly put in the subject line, podcast comment. Also, you can follow me on all the social media platforms. Just type in James Salazar Media. I should come up. And that's it. So, my friends, if the storm of life come against you and you find yourself on your knees, stand up and take that look at that storm, whether it be for life, circumstances, or Joe Biden. Take a look at that storm and say what my sensei Jack Burton always says. Give me your best shot. Strike the music. Chewy goddamn agrees.